What's up guys, Kartaka here, and today I'm here with another Digimon card game video. Today we're going to go over some of the big changes that were announced 2 days ago, I guess, from when this video is out. Just about the rules and the new mechanics coming out, and just a lot of exciting things coming into the Digimon card game. So yeah, let's go over the first change. That's going to be the Mulligan. Mulligan was previously not a thing in the official game. There were some Mulligan allowed in particular tournaments, but not in the actual game rules itself. So now it's going to be officially implemented into every single game that you will be playing. So it's very similar to how One Piece does the Mulligan. You shuffle your deck and your Digitama egg deck, and then you'll be able to do rock paper scissors to determine who goes first. Usually I do dice roll when I'm playing casually, but I guess rock paper scissors is the official way to do it on the tournament floor. And then you can draw 5 cards in your deck, look at your hand. If you don't like it, redraw. If you redraw, then you can put all the cards back in your deck, shuffle your deck, draw, and then after that you have to put the cards in your security, afterwards. So yeah, basically you're just reversing the draw step and the security step, so that you draw first, and then if you don't like your hand, you can just put everything in there and then draw a card afterward. That way some of your one-offs don't get stuck in security, which I think is a very good thing. And then yeah, you start the game. So overall, I'm very happy with this update, just because I'm happy because the next set is a real game changer. We have new Ace Digimon that are very, very low cost despite being a high level Digimon. So if they didn't introduce the Mulligan, I think the game balance will be very skewed for the new decks, because the old decks wouldn't have a way to fight against the new deck otherwise if they brick. We'll go over the reason why afterwards, but let's have a look at the other thing that is introduced. So next thing we have is a new timing added into the battle flow. So normally you attack and then you activate your when attacking effects, and then you have you can block. But now we have a counter timing, which happens after the when attacking effects activates. So you can do your counter timing once. So you can use your counter just once during that battle. Activate your effect. We'll look at some of the counter effect Digimon after this, but yeah, you do your counter timing, you activate your effect, and then you do your blocking afterwards if you still want to block. And then after that, you would just resolve battle as usual. So what can you do during your counter timing? We have a few new cards introduced. Let's look at the start deck cards. We're not going to go over the BT14 cards just because there's a few of them that are introduced, but let's look at the start deck ones because we're going to get those sooner. As you can see, we have a hand counter blast Digivolution, which is pretty much all of the counter effects out so far. And then you can just pretty much Digivolve on top of your Digimon without paying the cost, which is obviously strong. And then this Battleground has blocker as well as the effect to unsuspend itself whenever a player security is reduced. So not too nuts. This card's not too nuts, but it's just nice. It's nice to have a blocker. Suddenly have a surprise blocker on the board, which is okay. And you can also notice that there is a new box on the card. It says Ace. Basically, Ace is the new mechanic in the game, which we're not too sure on the details yet. But for now, all of the Ace have overflow, which is when this card is sent from the battle area or when it's in the source and removed, you lose 4 memory. So if your opponent kills this, they gain 4 memory, which is understandable. It's obviously used to balance out the mechanics a bit more, just because he is very low cost to slap down. So if your opponent deletes this, they get 4 memory back, which makes it more of like a double-edged sword. But it's totally understandable, because if you're blast evolving this thing, you're doing it for free. So if you lose 4 memory, if you for blast evolving, you pretty much lose an extra memory. But your opponent can potentially extend a turn. So I think this is a very interesting new layer added to the game. It's going to definitely encourage a lot more counterplays, and it'll make the game more exciting. A lot of people are worried because they're scared about hand traps, but Blast Digivolving, you still need to Digivolve on top of a card. It's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they just fly out of nowhere for no reason at all. You can usually predict if they are going to Blast Digivolve, mainly because they have to have a level 5 on the board, right? Or a level 4 if they're Digivolving into a level 5. Let's look at the Metal Garurumon, which is, I think, what many people had the most problem with. Just ignore the thing because it's the same. When Digivolving, by trashing up to 3 cards in your hand, you can get 1 memory for each card trashed. So this can potentially end your opponent's turn, which people are saying that this is a problem, but keep in mind, this counter step happens after when attacking. So a lot of Digimon that removes cards on the board do it via when attacking skills. So for example, if you're playing something like Wargreymon, or not Wargreymon, Wargreymon's a bad example, Gallantmon, you have a lot of ways to remove the level 5 on the board before they have a chance to counter. So I don't think it's that big of a deal at the moment. We should be able to playtest more of this before we actually complain. I see some people commenting on like the reveal for this thing, like, oh, I'm quitting this game, bye Digimon. The game is ruined. If I want to play cards with hand traps, I will be playing Yu-Gi-Oh. It's very silly in my opinion, because Yu-Gi-Oh isn't the only game out there with counterplays. Like Magic has counterplays, Battle Spirits has counterplays. You know, a lot of games have counterplays, and this is just something that can make the game more interesting. Obviously, because the other thing people are complaining about is OTK decks. Like you're going to complain about OTK decks, and in a lot of ways you can't really counterplay against them unless you have something in security that can stop them, or you set up your board the turn before and stuff. But with counter, you can actually have a way to counter your opponent on their turn, and it's just gonna make things more interesting. I think the game's been out for like over 13 sets, so I think having a little bit of counterplay is not a problem. I thought before that they would let us counter via like digibursting and stuff, but this is another alternative that's also pretty good. So I think we should just try this mechanic out first before we complain. Obviously it's strong. I'm not saying it's not strong, but it's like you can see it happening. Like if they have a level 5, for example, if you're playing against a purple Metal Garurumon deck and they have a level 5 Garurumon on the board, you're gonna suspect that he's probably gonna have the Metal Garurumon in hand. And then you just attack with it and expect them to not do anything, and then they slap down a Metal Garurumon, like, oh, why did he have that in his hand? It's it's not as busted as people are making it out to be. So I think you should just play it for a bit first before we make any decisions. I think it's a nice idea, and it's going to be interesting. Obviously, oops, that's my phone. Obviously, it's going to power creep in the future, and there might be some super busted effects later on, but for now I think this thing is fine. It's fine. It only activates on evolution, so if they hardcast this thing, they don't get the effect off. There are some Ace Digimon that have on play effects, so that could be pretty interesting, especially since it's the Magna Angemon that lets you recover if you have 5 or less security. So that would be pretty interesting for security control. I guess it will make that deck a little bit more viable again. But anyway, I'm just rambling now. I just wanted to get this off my chest because I've been looking at this stuff yesterday for a long time, and I was thinking about how it would change the game. And I think in the long run, it will change the game for better. It just makes the game more interesting. I think it's another way to help people gain interest. Like people who like games with counterplay will take interest in this game now, but because it's another added layer of strategy and deck building. So yeah, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? If you guys want to leave a comment down below and share your opinions, I'm down to listen. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. This is Karataku, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!